welcome to the Professional Fan. I am Professional Mike, and this evening we have some fun things to talk about. As you can see, first and foremost, I am off camera this evening. Unfortunately, I've had some technical difficulties with my laptop, so we are going to be doing this off camera. However, we have some news. Now, as you know, I do cover the NFL in totality, but mainly a Cleveland Browns guy. And unfortunately, we have had our franchise player, future Hall of Famer, and arguably the best defensive player in the NFL request a trade. I'm sure you've all seen. However, some new things have come to light. Not just from Andrew Berry, our GM, who has strictly said that they have no interest in trading Myles Garrett, that they already said that even if they were offered 2 first-round picks, they will not be trading Myles Garrett. But there's something completely different and a whole nother facet as to why the Browns won't or can't trade Myles Garrett. So I have an article, and we're going to pull that up now. And I'm just going to kind of read this to you and go over it. This is from ESPN Plus official article from Aaron Schatz. So shout out to him for the article, and go check this out and read the article in totality. Trading Garrett would also be terrible for Cleveland's salary cap situation, which is already in bad shape because of quarterback Deshaun Watson. Roster management system estimates the Browns to be $30 million over the salary cap. Trading Garrett would leave the Browns with at least $36 million in dead money and a loss of $16.5 million in cap space. If the Browns try to mitigate this by waiting until after June 1st to trade Garrett, they would have to pay him $5 million roster bonus to get nothing in return. Could Garrett hold out? Perhaps, but he's not going to miss the entire season because he wants his contract to roll a year. The Browns maybe could make nice and convince him they're trying to win and he shouldn't hold out, or they could just deal with only having him for half the year. The picks they would obtain in the Garrett trade might not be worth the salary cap problems that trade would create, plus the loss of Garrett's great play on the field. Now, this is a good article, and it does highlight a huge issue with the prospect of trading Myles Garrett. Now, all this being said, there are a couple of things that aren't completely correct in the article. Yes, right now we're $30 million over the salary cap. However, we just found out what the new salary cap is going to be. The salary cap just raised about $22 to $25 million. Either way you look at it, it's about a $5 to $7 million more than what was initially thought of. So that's going to help the Browns. Also, they already restructured Deshaun Watson, and also we had insurance on him. Essentially, if he misses a whole year, $43 million of his contract would be paid back to us in 2026 and it wouldn't count against the cap. And that's almost half of his remaining money. So that's big. And from all intents and purposes, it does seem like Deshaun Watson will not play next year. The setback was in his Achilles rehab. It's looking like Deshaun needed a whole nother surgery to fix his second injury. Now, there is another side to this. Myles has said that he would do whatever it takes to contract-wise to facilitate a trade. But at the end of the day, the Browns don't want to trade him. And I do believe that even though he's saying that at the end of the day that he would do whatever it takes to make a trade work, he can say that, and this isn't an attack on Myles' integrity or saying he's not a man of his word, but players generally don't want to void guarantees. Players generally don't want to avoid all of that money. Even though Myles is saying he wants to compete for a Super Bowl, He wants to play at the highest level. I really don't think he would eat most of his contract and play for essentially 2 years for $5 million a year if he really voided all of his guarantees. And also, the Browns, I don't think would accept many trade packages. It would have to be a king's ransom because, yes, he only has 2 years left on his deal, but we haven't used the franchise tag on him once. And we have 2 franchise tags that we could use on Myles. So you're looking at 4 years of contractual control for the best defensive player in the NFL. He's not someone that's going to sit out. He's almost 30, and he says he doesn't care about his legacy in making the Hall of Fame. I don't know if I believe that in totality. Myles Garrett's not the guy that's going to sit out. He does care about his legacy. Having 10-plus sacks for 4 years in a row, he's talked about that. He cares about that. So at the end of the day, it's looking more and more like they won't trade him and that they're going to do everything in their power to appease what he wants. Which, according to, let's see, who was that? Let me get in here. I think it was Jeremy Fowler. According to Jeremy Fowler, and I could be wrong on who said this, according to him and his sources, everything he's hearing is sources close to the Browns and to Myles. Myles wants them to get a veteran quarterback and pick Travis Hunter in the first round. Now, I wouldn't be completely upset with this. I do like Shedeur Sanders. There's even a part of me that would be okay with Cam Ward, but I prefer Shedeur at 2.
Mike, I'm just popping in. The report was Todd McShay.
Todd McShay, thank you so much.
The report was, it didn't say anything about Myles, what he wants directly, just to clarify, but it says that he's hearing from multiple sources that the Browns will not be taking a quarterback in number 2, and that he has, the Travis Hunter part was he has them taking Travis Hunter in his mock draft. So
Gotcha. Todd McShay, thank you.
Yes.
So that was Todd McShay. Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. So Todd McShay has the Browns taking Travis Hunter. Now, Myles has made it very clear, and this is a little bit of my headcanon, then Myles has made it very clear he wants informed on everything that the Browns are doing offseason wise, free agency wise, draft wise, and if it's becoming more and more apparent that they will not be taking a quarterback at 2, does that mean Myles has a say in that? I would assume so. In the same token, I think they're going to do everything they can to appease him. Maybe Myles wanted them to take a Travis Hunter, take an Abdul Carter, a defensive piece, and then go to a more veteran quarterback in a win now more scenario, a Matt Stafford, a Kirk Cousins. Now that's a whole different can of worms if Matt Stafford would want to come here. I don't know if he's just playing for the love of the game at this point or if he's trying to win more Super Bowls. He is 37. He had a very good year last year. You know, he is going to be expensive. I don't mean contract-wise because I think Los Angeles would pay a lot of that. But I do think Matt Stafford would be expensive draft pick-wise. If it's something like 2/3 to LA, sure. But if they want pick 33 for Matt Stafford, now that's not to say that he isn't worth that. But if I'm the Browns, I'm not doing that. I'm not trading essentially a second first-round pick because first pick in the second round, that's essentially a first-round pick. That's going to be a perennial starter, whoever you pick there. So would I trade pick 33 for Matt Stafford? No. Would I trade 2 third-round picks for 2 years of Matt Stafford? Probably. So that's my headcanon. I think that's what Myles is leaning towards. And maybe the Browns take a Will Howard, a project like Jalen Milroe. I'm much lower on Jalen Milroe after the Senior Bowl than I was before. Now that being said, I still think he's a super freak of an athlete. He might be able to turn into something, but and actually it looks like we got the Todd McShay clip. So Joseph, if you would like to pull that up right quick. Yeah, here it is. Beautiful.
Here's where I really want to get your opinion. I'm going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to give you the pick, and then you go from there.
Okay.
I've heard from multiple sources now. Okay. Cleveland they're not pulling the trigger on a quarterback here at 2. I've heard from multiple sources, multiple sources, that they don't believe that this is the year to do that, that they're not a quarterback in this class away, if that makes sense.
Right.
Had it been last year's class, they feel really good that they can kind of take off and run. So with that in mind, I went with Travis Hunter. I also want to make this. I know you said recently that you don't think that he's going to be a top 5 pick in this draft. In this scenario, I think Cleveland could take Travis Hunter, the cornerback wide receiver out of Colorado. I also want to say this. I've now heard from 2 different people that Kirk Cousins could be brought in on the cheap this offseason, kind of as a stopgap. So with that in mind, and again, I'll let you go. With that in mind, is Jackson Dart, is Tyler Shuck, from a value standpoint, whether it's sitting and waiting early in round 2, or if you're getting information he could go to, I don't know, Pittsburgh later in 1. What are the Pittsburgh picks? 21, I think, somewhere in that range.
22 maybe, but that range,
yeah, somewhere in the early 20s. But I don't even think Pittsburgh's going to do that. So, and we can get to that later. But
you're right, 21.
But is it trading back into the late first? And don't forget this is an important part of it. By drafting a quarterback in the first round, even though you don't want to give up that pick to go move up a few spots from round 2 to 1, it's worth that pick, because that 5th-year option you get as a rookie draft pick, if you're a first-round pick, there's a 5th-year option that the NFL team gets.
So that was Todd McShay's clip, and he's hearing from multiple sources that the Browns aren't pulling the trigger at 2. Is it still possible that they do and they change their mind? Absolutely. And Andrew Berry moves in silence like the G in lasagna. Like, he is very much just a quiet, kind of putting smoke everywhere. There's interest in Shador. Now there's not. There's, he's just that kind of GM. He's not like John Dorsey, where he was like, oh, we're going to take a quarterback. It's just a matter of which quarterback, back in 2018. So there is a possibility that we still go quarterback, but according to Todd McShay and his sources, they could be not pulling the trigger. And that's more of a recent report. So maybe this is in a result to Myles Garrett's trade demands. I wouldn't be shocked if that's why. Now, ultimately, what does this mean? Do I think the Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett? No. I've said that I don't think so. I don't think it makes sense. I think if they do trade him, I don't think it would make Myles very happy, because at the end of the day, they would have to do what's best for the Browns. And that is not trading Myles to a contender. Unless a contender offers a Herschel Walker-esque just king's ransom of 3 first-round picks, a second, a third, a fifth, a young player. Like, it would have to be like something where like everybody would look at it and be like, I don't know if, I know they got Myles Garrett in the trade, but I don't know if they won that trade. I would need people to question if it made sense for them to make the trade. I would need people to be like, wow, the Browns really made out. They won the trade. That's what I would need. I would need Andrew Berry and any trade that involves Myles Garrett to be unreasonable. I need them to be unreasonable because Myles Garrett there's just not enough you could give for a player of his caliber. And it would have to be an unreasonable amount. It would have to be 3 first-round picks, a second, a third, a fifth, a young player. Like for example, if Houston If Houston thinks they're Myles Garrett away, okay, cool. Give me 3 first-round picks. Give me your second. Give me a third. Give me a fifth. And give me Derek Stingley. It would have to be something disgusting like that. Like something just like something that would make those fans upset that they traded for Myles Garrett. And I think that's the only way it possibly still could happen at this point. If there's just like an offer you can't refuse, a franchise changing offer. But ultimately where I'm at right now, I don't think he's getting traded. And as a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if after everything's said and done at the end of March, maybe shortly after the draft, if Myles doesn't sign a fully guaranteed contract and to be the highest paid defensive end ever. I wouldn't be surprised if it's fully guaranteed because Jimmy has proven he'll do it, and he's proven he'll do it for the players he thinks are great and that he loves. And Myles Garrett is not just the greatest player that he's ever had as an owner. He's also somebody that economically it makes sense to keep in Cleveland. If you're an owner, Myles Garrett makes you money. He sells jerseys. He sells tickets. He's a big name. Makes sense to keep that player happy. It makes sense to keep him in your city if you can, even if it costs a fully guaranteed contract, because ultimately you're benefiting financially by having him on your team, not just from the fact that he just makes your team better, but also from the fact that he's a draw. And it just makes sense to keep him here. So I'd love to hear what you guys think. I want to hear, especially if you're not a Browns fan and you don't have any stake in this game. I want to hear what you have to say. Do you think that the Browns are ultimately going to trade Myles Garrett? And I want to make something clear. If you think I'm being ridiculous with the 3 first-round picks thing, this, that, and the other, that is what it's going to take. The Browns made it very clear that they don't want to trade Myles. They have no interest in trading Myles. So if you're a GM of an opposite team, you're going to have to make that. If you're a fan of an opposing team and you're saying, well, that's ludicrous. No, it's not. It's Myles Garrett. If you want Myles Garrett and you think you're a Myles Garrett away from a Super Bowl, it's going to take an unreasonable amount of draft capital. You're going to have to mortgage your future. And that's just the facts of the matter. You're not going to get Myles for 1, and a 2. It's not going to happen. For God's sakes, Khalil Mack, who I think is an excellent player, went for 2 1s. And I think Myles Garrett is leagues above Khalil Mack in his prime. And you're getting a player who's not even 30 yet. So let's not joke with that. Yeah, McShay said he's heard the Browns are eyeing Kirk Cousins for the low, and that move would make perfect sense. Having a veteran quarterback, in the room that you can win with. I'm sure Kirk would love to be reunited with Kevin, who he had the most success in his career with, arguably. Kevin would be very comfortable with Kirk. Not a big personality. Just a old school kind of quarterback, will run the offense Kevin wants him to run. Makes a ton of sense. And Kirk would get out of Atlanta, which looks like he's not very happy in. But yeah, folks, wanted to keep this short and sweet. Wanted to get my points across. Think I hit everything. But yeah, like I said, subscribe, share. Thank you, Joseph. Ding the notification bell to let you know when we've got new episodes out. I'm going to try and post another one within 2 weeks. Again, apologies for my absence. I've been having some technical difficulties. Hopefully I can get my very old beaten down laptop fixed, and or just getting a new laptop in general is probably what I'm going to end up doing. But yeah, leave a comment, especially if you're from an opposing fan base. I'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think the Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett? And if you're a fan of an opposing fan base, do you want your team to trade Myles Garrett? Do you think Myles Garrett would put you guys over the hump for a Super Bowl? I'd love to hear your opinion. And please like, subscribe, and share this content. It's free. It helps the show out a lot. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And at the end of the day, I hope all parties involved in this Myles Garrett mess that the Browns are in just stay professional. And I hope you have a great night, folks. I'm Audi 5000. Love you dearly. Be safe. Don't drown. It's scary out there.